On July 28th, 2021, we lost an amazing family member, Dusty Hill, bassist for ZZ Top. And although I never had the honor of meeting Mr. Hill, he holds a unique place in my heart. You can't grow up in Northern California without having ZZ Top everywhere. And hearing his music from earliest days of my bass playing really had a big influence on how I approach playing bass lines, how I approach supporting singers and guitar players. All that aside, and although I don't have a personal story about meeting Dusty, there's one thing I wanted to share that is rather unique about Mr. Hill. And that is, through my work at Musicians Institute and through my work with various publications, even being the editor of Bass Frontiers, I didn't have the opportunity to meet him, but I had the opportunity to meet a lot of bass players and hear a lot of bass players talk. And even when I was playing with bands and touring around, talking with other bands, and it's very amazing that no matter the genre of bass player I was talking to, they all respected Dusty. No one had a negative thing to say. And that's kind of rare because sometimes bassists can be very critical on other bassists. And they might, oh, he plays too much notes, or I hate his tone, or, whatever it might be. And it's really rare to get a consensus like that. And the consensus was, regardless of what style of music these players came from, they respected Mr. Hill. And that got me thinking, of course, his playing is impeccable. And it fits the music, and it's powerful, and it's exciting, and all that. But most of all, Dusty Hill was authentic. He was who he was. And he didn't try to pull anything over on people. He didn't try to be a bassist he wasn't. He was authentic. He was true. And I think that resonates with players from every genre of music, that they recognize someone who's being absolutely true and authentic and not being phony and definitely not a poser. And I think that garners respect. So I'm going to probably always regret not being able to sit down and chat with Dusty Hill. And but we have his music to listen to. And I encourage players. Some players might be aware of ZZ Top and Dusty's playing from their work in the 80s, which was amazing. And, they really took MTV by storm. They had great videos. The songs were amazing. But if that's the case, I would encourage you to go back to the 70s. Check out the first three albums. Fandango, insane. What a great album. Go through the whole discography. And I think if Dusty's not someone who's been on your radar, I think you'll be impressed by his playing, his tone, his timing, his technique, and his authenticity. Thank you, Dusty.
Hey guys, hey everyone. Hey Dale. Hope everybody's well. Hope everybody's happy and healthy and doing well. Dale, again, I want to thank you for inviting me in on these memorials, I guess, if you want to call them. We've been doing way too many of them lately, and what can we say? Unfortunately, the bass world lost another great, most extremely underrated bass player in the world, Dusty Hill from ZZ Top. Man, you don't realize the contributions that these guys make until they're gone, and then you sit back and you think, man, Fandango and Eliminator, man, all these, I mean, they did so many records, and it was the original three guys the whole time, and to think about that too, he was like, he was 1/3 of the sound of ZZ Top, which if you take away 1/3 of anything, that's a major portion of whatever you're taking it away from. Kudos to Billy and to Frank for pressing on Dusty's wishes. Actually, from what I understand, some of his dying wishes were, put Elwood, their tech, in, and the show must go on. So it's just you don't realize, was he flashy? Was he a soloist? Was he this? No, he wasn't. He was just a dude that friggin' laid it down. And like I said in my Facebook post, there's a whole lot less asses shaken to the good old Texas boogie woogie since Dusty passed, because that's what he did. You know, he did what bass players do. He does what I do, and everybody here watching. You know, you go in and you do the gig, and you know, you play your bass. Another thing a lot of people didn't realize, he was half the voice of Tush, half the voice of ZZ Top. You know, that's him singing on Tush. You know, one of their biggest hits, and everybody thinks it's Billy on a lot of stuff, and Billy does sing half the stuff too, but for the most part, man, that's, you know, he had a hell of a voice. Never got to meet the guy. I know you guys were joking, like, I bet you Dino's met him. And no, I've met Billy a bunch of times. Super nice guy, extremely intelligent, like can carry on a conversation about anything from NASA to sports cars. But no, I never got to meet Dusty. I never got to meet Frank. But you know, like I said, you know, we're doing way too many of these, and you know, if just put on a couple of ZZ Top records, and you know, the bass isn't overstated, but I dare anybody to cop a Dusty Hill groove correctly, and you know, just the boogie in Tush, and I don't know, a lot of people would classify it as a shuffle. I call it a boogie. That dunk-a-dunk-a-dunk-a-dunk-a-dunk-a-dunk-a-dunk. That, to me, that's a boogie. That's like a medium paced boogie. Do that and sing on top of it, and you know. But anyways, you know, we could reminisce about this all the time. But you know, if anything, if you take anything away from this, you know, there's always going to be Victor Wootens, there's always going to be Billy Sheehan's, you know, there's always going to be the virtuosos that stand out in front of everybody and do their own thing and create their own thing and mesmerize us with their musicality and their technique. But man, you always got to have the Dusties and the Michael Anthonys and the Tom Hamiltons and those guys too, that just sit behind everybody and just lay down a groove and make, like I say, you ain't, if there ain't asses shaking on the dance floor, you ain't doing your job as a bass player and as a rhythm section. And that's what Dusty did, man. You know, any ZZ Top concert you see, you know, there's barely an ass not shaking in the audience. So anyways, guys, love you all. Stay healthy. And hopefully you won't see me doing another one of these for a long time, or any of us doing one of these for a long time. But I hope this brings a little bit of peace and solace to those of you that were close to Dusty. And you know, the show goes on. Right on. Peace.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Dave Fowler out near Nashville, Tennessee. I've been a working bass player here for 37 years. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but it has. I was approached by Seth Hill and Dale Titus to do this video on my Dusty Hill story. And I've been very fortunate to have been a working bass player here for so long and managed to stay busy for all that time. So I count my blessings every day where that's concerned. Anyway, on to my Dusty story. Several years ago, I got a call from J.D. Andrew at like 1 a.m. My phone kept going off. I was married at the time, and I just kept ignoring it. I thought, well, if some of my buddies are calling and they're out having a great time, and I'll just ignore it. But about the third or fourth time that it rang, I figured, well, I better check it and make sure my parents are okay in North Carolina, and just make sure everything, you know, maybe somebody really needs me. So I got up, and it was J.D. Andrew, my buddy, who is Billy Bob Thornton's partner in a band called the Boxmasters. It was 1 a.m. He says, Dave, we've having to make a bass player change in our tour here. Are you available for the next 3 weeks? And can you be in Montgomery, Alabama tomorrow at 5 o'clock for sound check? We're doing a string of dates with ZZ Top. Well, being a working musician, you guys kind of know how that goes. You know, you have to make decisions about sometimes in the spur of the moment, and if you don't move along, move quickly, then you lose out, because they have to find somebody, and they got to move on. They got to have somebody. So I said, well, without even talking to my wife at the time, I said, well, I'll be there. So you can imagine at breakfast the next morning, by the way, honey, I'm leaving at noon for 3 weeks. But the job came along, as they often do, at a time I really needed the job. I needed the money. It was good timing for them and for me. So I went. I basically learned the show on the way to the gig with Nashville number charts. That's the quickest way to learn things, man, to help you get through. So I basically learned the music on the way, and got there for sound check, and Billy was really nervous because, they had to make a change and spur of the moment. It was not planned. So, and he knew I played, and thanks greatly to my great friend Steve Arnold. They called Steve because Steve had gigged with Billy before. Steve wasn't available. He had a landscaping business, and he had just gone through some stuff, and he had his kids, and he just had too much going on. He could not go do the tour at the spur of the moment. So Steve said, call Dave. He'll be able to do it. So I'm grateful to Steve to this day for that. So anyway, I show up. I come rolling up to the venue, to the, I forget where we played, some arena down there. And I come rolling in, right at 5 o'clock, right at our sound check time. The tour manager and a couple crew guys met me at curbside by the buses, grabbed my bags, threw my bass in my hand and said, go straight to the stage. So I did. And Billy was real nervous, and he thought that they would have Teddy Andriatis, who was the keyboard player at the time, play keyboard bass that night and have me watch, because he was just nervous about it. So Tom Mayhew was our tour manager, who works with Guns N' Roses, and he just said, look, Billy, he said, let Dave play a couple of songs. You come out to front of house and let's see how it goes. If he does good, roll with him tonight. And if he doesn't, Dave, you watch tonight, take notes, and we'll get it tomorrow. I said, fair enough. So I went, got set up, everything rolling. Billy went to front of house. We played a couple of songs. He came back and he smiled and he said, we'll be fine. So later that night, sure enough, we go on and we play before ZZ, and it went really well. It went really well. The music is simple. It's not Chick Corea or anything. It's just very simple rock and roll music, and so it went well, and Billy was pleased. And we're in our dressing room after the show, and the door flings open, and it's Dusty Hill, and he says, hey, where's that bass player? And boy, I'm stunned, not only as one of my all-time favorite bass players and an icon to me, standing in the room with me, he's asking for me. And so I just kind of stuck my hand up halfway, and I was like, I'm over here. So he walks over to me and he said, son, they said you learned the show on the way to the venue today. He said, is that true? I said, yes, sir, I did. He goes, boy, he said, you're making me look bad. He goes, I've been playing these songs for over 40 years and I still mess them up. He goes, don't do so well tomorrow. That really meant a lot to me. I was stunned and thrilled and honored, of course, that came from him personally. So he left, headed down the hall with their tour manager, Pablo Gamboya, who's been their tour manager forever. And I was so stunned I didn't even think to ask him for a photo. So I kind of grabbed my phone and ran down the hall and grabbed Pablo and said, man, may I please get a picture with Dusty? And he said, sure, man. And as we were taking the picture, Billy Bob had slipped out of the dressing room, followed me down the hall because he knew how important that was to me, and photobombed us. So I have that photo of Dusty and I together in the hallway and in the Coliseum there, wherever it was. I really can't remember, and I'm sorry. But Yeah, man. So that's my Dusty Hill story. What a great moment for me that I'll cherish forever. Okay, thanks for allowing me to be a part of this, guys. Very grateful to you. Sorry I'm rambling and was a little lengthy. Have a great day, everybody, and wishing everybody all the best from Middle Tennessee.
Hey everybody, hope this video finds you doing well. We lost another legend in the bass world, Mr. Dusty Hill. What an incredible player, incredible singer. A big influence on me in many, many ways. When I was a kid, my Uncle Al had an incredible record collection. And I remember just thumbing through his records. I don't remember how, it was definitely before I started playing bass. And I came across a copy of Tres Hombres. I remember opening that up and seeing that spread of Mexican food. And you gotta remember, this was in Michigan. I didn't even know there was such a thing as Mexican food. And I was just, okay, this is just, what's going on? They got a giant picture of like food and stuff in their album, and these guys got beards and they're wearing these rhinestone suits that I found out later were made by Nudie the Tailor in North Hollywood. And pretty wild. I keep looking through his records, and then I'd see Fandango with that picture of some stadium in Houston at one of their live shows where it says like the world's biggest ZZ Top weekend barbecue and concert or whatever. And it just was like, okay, this is wild, you know? And my uncle was telling me how like he saw them back then, him and my aunt, and how they had livestock on stage, and said the concert was so loud that my aunt's defense was to go to sleep, you know, just kind of like when babies do if it's too loud. But after I started playing bass, you know, you would hear them on the radio all the time, and which you would never hear ZZ Top on the radio today, or a band like ZZ Top. I mean, I think Tush was in like the top 20 for singles. You know, and this is like well before MTV. So, I mean, just that alone is just crazy, you know. But when I started playing bass, I started going back and listening to that older ZZ Top, and it was a big influence on my playing as far as like, you know, if you want to learn slow blues, you got to learn Blue Jean Blues or Fool for Your Stockings. You just want to learn, I mean, some of those parts they had where Dusty and Billy had those riffs that they would play together, you know, like on Party on the Patio, or of course Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, stuff like that. That's all stuff I would, you know, sit along in the bedroom and try to cop Dusty's bass parts, you know. And what an incredible singer as well, man. The guy sounded just like Elvis, you know. I loved when him and Billy would trade verses and stuff, like on, you know, Balinese and Heard It on the X, you know, stuff like that. It was just, it was cool, man. And when I was touring with the Dickies, our guitar player, Little Dave, was also a huge ZZ Top fan. And we would be in the hotel room, you know, before a gig, after a gig, got the night off or whatever. And we had like a little portable DVD player, and he had all these like burned off a computer live videos. One of them he had was ZZ Top 1980 show over Germany. You guys probably seen it, like Rock Palace or whatever it was called. And we would watch these videos, and they were just mind blowing. So Dave and I would start copying, you know, Dusty and Billy stage moves, you know, like before a gig or whatever. Okay, let's do that. Let's do that thing they were doing, you know, on Thank You, you know. And so I know they influenced, you know, us like that, and you can hear their influence in other bands too, where they're really not the same style of music, like Van Halen, for example. I don't know, just a big part of growing up for me, for some guys like that to be able to persevere, not only like survive the MTV age, but dominate MTV. That leveled a lot of bands when MTV came out from their era, that couldn't get with the video thing. And those guys owned it, as everybody well knows, I've heard some people say too, like they'll dismiss Dusty's bass parts as being simple, stuff like that, kind of the same way like a lot of people dismiss the Ramones as being simple. And there's a video on YouTube right now of right after Dusty passed. There's a video clip of a show that the Foo Fighters were playing. And they tried to play Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, couldn't even make it halfway through. And they tried to play Tush, and they couldn't even make it halfway through, This is the Foo Fighters, So it's a lot more to it than just blues, and anybody who's watching this knows this and loves ZZ Top to the bone. So anyways, Dusty, thanks for all the great tunes, man. Oh, one more thing. Dusty got me, he's solely responsible for getting me into pre-57P basses. When I found out what he was playing, I started looking into them and got to play a couple vintage ones out in Los Angeles and picked up one of those late 90s Made in Japan reissues. I wish I never sold that one, but one day I'll find the perfect Grail 55. But yeah, Dusty's the one who got me into those early P basses, so I want to thank him for that. And of course, my condolences to his family and friends. All right, have a good night, everybody. See ya.
Hi, everybody. This is Mark Corrado from my backyard in Sarasota, Florida. We had a unfortunate circumstance this week. Dusty Hill from ZZ Top passed away, and just want to take a minute to share my feelings. I never really listened to him individually or, anything like that. When it comes to ZZ Top, it was always about the songs they played together. And that's my biggest memory of all the great songs, all the great hits, and just the way three people made such a big sound. Never really spent any time picking out bass lines and this kind of thing. I just enjoyed the music. Just playing together as a unit. He sounded great. It was a great band, great songs. But still, it comes down to playing for the song. All those great hits, that they had and everything. I just really enjoyed them. It's really unfortunate that he passed. But talk about a band guy. That's what it's all about. If you can't make good songs, what good is it? And he sure did. He was great. Great unit, great memories, great songs. That's what I remember. That's the good stuff. In any event, I'm really sorry for his family and people that knew him. I didn't know him, but man, just a big loss to the community at large. In any event, thanks for listening and have a great day. Bye-bye.
It has come my time to talk about the passing of Mr. Joseph Michael, aka Dusty Hill. Having the same last name, the same calling to the bass guitar, and adorning the whiskers, it is a great tragedy, and I'll forever regret not being able to meet Dusty in person and spend time with him. Everything from the people that knew him, who I have met, everything in the interviews, just he seemed like such a fantastically kind fellow, and of course a legend. The bass playing on ZZ Top will always be underrated because of how good it is. It sits back and lets Billy and Frank just be rocketed off and show out in the best way possible. I will forever be indebted to what Dusty has created, because it's a legacy that will live on. We want to say forever, and it probably will be forever. Clearly, I have taken a lot from ZZ Top, but especially with Dusty sitting back, and he doesn't dance around, he doesn't grab a microphone every chance he gets. He just is the epitome of cool, and what he has done will never be forgotten. Honestly, the music that he has made will challenge me just for the joy of being able to play it. Specifically, Just Got Paid. That is so difficult a bass line to get right. Things like that, little nuances and the small things that happen that you only pick up on if you're really listening for it. I'll always be working on Dusty's stuff, and like I said, it is a terrible thing that I'll never get the opportunity to spend time with him one-on-one. But I will keep doing my part to be Seth Hill, the bass player, for as many years as the Lord lets me live. And we'll miss him, and just remember him in all the records and all the warm-hearted comments that have been made about him by the people who really know. So I hope that I can, in some small way, keep going and keep pushing that playing well and just being cool by not needing a spotlight, just supporting your bandmates and doing what's needed for a song. That's really good bass playing. And I will always enjoy the legendary Dusty Hill and his wonderful music with the band ZZ Top.